It'll be on my YouTube channel. So if you missed something in the recipe or anything, you can check back. Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Irby. I'm the bikini chef for those of you who know me in the chef world. And for those of you who know me in the real estate world, I'm also a realtor with Active Realty in Southern California. We we're a dynamic, fabulous brokerage, if I don't say so myself, and we are the exclusive broker partner with the Zillow Cash Offers program in 4 Southern California counties. So pretty much all of Southern California, excluding Los Angeles. So super exciting. Today, or at least right now for this hour, I have on my chef hat, not my realtor hat. And I wanted to introduce to you our sponsor for the day, which is Guaranteed Rate out of Florida. And you're probably going, why Florida? Well, because it's my sister, Janet Jones, and she is Vice President of Mortgage Lending for Guaranteed Rate in Florida. So I just wanted to thank Guaranteed Rate for sponsoring our cooking class today. And as soon as we get through this little sponsorship stuff, we're going to get to cooking. So Janet, I'm going to turn it over to you. And also, really quick before you start, Janet, Janet is not only in mortgage lending, she's also a Qigong master. So I'm a realtor chef. She's a mortgage lender, Qigong master. So health runs in the family. So Janet, introduce yourself, and I'll be quiet. Are you there? Oh, shoot. I thought I unmuted you. Or unmute yourself. The trials of
okay.
There you go.
I think there we are. So I wanted to thank Susan for doing this today. I kind of roped her into this, and I want to thank everybody for jumping on. So our goal today was sort of just inspire you, and I know that by jumping on here, you're already kind of trying to be your best self. We're all looking to try to be the best that we can be. So I know that you're all there because you jumped on here today, and we wanted to just further inspire you and give you maybe some healthy tips and lifestyle tips to building your immune system, because we've all been kind of focused on that during the last few weeks for sure. So we thought it might be relevant to help us all do that. So I'll just cut away to a very small advertisement. Yes, I've been in banking and finance for 30 years. I've been with Guaranteed Rate for 3 years, and I love it here. And I didn't know if we were going to have any men on the line, so I brought Ty Pennington with me here. If you can see Ty, he's right here. But Ty is one of the major spokespeople for Guaranteed Rate. So if you know Ty Pennington, you may connect that with Guaranteed Rate. We're one of the top 10 lenders in the country. And we're really focused on making sure that our client has a great experience. And we also are very focused on our agent realtor partnerships. So we have a fantastic, you can see it here, it's called an Agent Advantage Partnership. And it's a whole really kind of program of how we can help realtors succeed. So hopefully, if we have time, we could do a virtual coffee or maybe a real coffee real soon. And I can tell you more about that. So I do renovation loans, and I also do conventional loans, FHA. And right now, through the end of the year, so far through 2020, we're doing a special for VA. So for any of our veteran folks, we have no lender fees for the entire rest of the year. So a huge savings for our lenders. So I know I can cook up some good loans, but Susan, we're looking for some tasty cooking from you. So back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, sis. So if I was kind of concerned earlier today that I might have to delay the show because I ran out of root cover-up. Anyone with me on that? All right. So let's get cooking. Today we're going to do a cookie sheet frittata recipe. Frittata is one of my favorite recipes for many reasons. One was when I was first beginning as a chef. I worked at a restaurant in Italy. I had no restaurant experience. I offered to work for free so they couldn't fire me. And so, so it worked out great because I learned a tremendous amount. Frittata is Italian based and it's actually pretty much an open faced omelet, which I appreciate because I'm not super great at flipping and turning omelets and that. So right now, I want to show you though, the original recipe for this. Janet shared with me a recipe that she wanted to do. And of course, being in typical Susan fashion, I had to change it and work it up and, I want to mention if you have any questions, put them in the chat channel. Janet will be monitoring the chat channel. But this is a baking sheet. Okay, so when I was first cooking years ago, our mom taught us that a healthy plate is a colorful plate. And she was a culinary arts and nutrition major. Back then, they called it home ec and nutrition. So, but this is a baking sheet. But when we were growing up, it was called a cookie sheet, which is why I called it a cookie sheet frittata. But there really is a difference, and I'm going to show you right now what that difference is. You can see the size of this cookie sheet, and it's in your recipe or baking sheet. But a cookie sheet is a little bit smaller. So this is the cookie sheet that many of us grew up on. So some of the people in our chat channel now probably have this sheet and others maybe have the baking sheet we have. But you can see the difference in size. And the smaller inner sheet is the 10 by 15 and the larger one is the 11 by 16. The difference is the amount of eggs you're going to use, okay? Because the worst thing you want to happen is you're pouring in your eggs in your cookie sheet and they spill over the side and then they mess up your oven and all of that, okay? So we make enough messes in our kitchen as it is, right? So the reason why I increased the number of eggs in the recipe and selected the baking sheet is because it has a thicker lip on it, so that when I am pouring in my eggs, there's a less likely chance that it's going to spill over. All right, there you have it. So, okay, in our recipe, we're going to do Swiss chard. And you're going to be like, why Swiss chard? Swiss chard, super health benefits, vitamin K, fiber, natural water. There's a doctor that I interviewed on my radio show years ago, and he wrote a book called The Water Secret. And it's all about how if we get tired of drinking our water, we can eat our water. And it's really a great, not just a concept, but a reality. So this is Swiss chard. You just saw me. I just took the leaves off the stem there with my chef knife. I love these kind of knives. You can use a Santoku knife with a different style of knife. And then I'm just going to chop up the stems. Okay, hopefully you can see it. If you can't, just put it in the chat channel. I'll adjust my camera. Oh, and yeah, I just wanted to mention I'm wearing my bikini chef coat. How did the bikini chef get her name? Janet will attest to this. It came from our family lake house. Growing up in Alabama, water skiing all day. We still do it today. And we end up cooking in our bikini. You don't have to wear a bikini. You can wear whatever you want. But most of the time, we literally be water skiing till the sun went down and cooking in our bikini because we were starving. So I already chopped up some other Swiss chard stems. I have them in this bowl here. And I'm going to put these on my baking sheet. I lined mine with parchment paper. You don't have to. You can put grapeseed oil on the pan. I'll talk about grapeseed oil in a minute. But
Susan,
what?
So we have a question of if you don't have a Swiss chard, maybe you could use a spinach, or can you use that, or maybe kale or something?
What I would recommend over spinach is Tuscan kale. So it's those thick kale leaves, it's very similar. Yeah, you could also use spinach. You can use any dark leafy green you want. You could not so much arugula because arugula is more sensitive, but definitely a Tuscan kale or a spinach would work just fine. But instead of putting the Tuscan leaves in at this point, because this is the stems, they're a little bit thicker, you would put the leaves in the next step. Okay, so I'm gonna step on a frame and put this in the oven. And as any good television chef does, I have the finished product at the end. So, all right, Janet, this is your chance to do a breathing exercise.
Okay, well, so first I was gonna, she mentioned that I have done Qigong, and I have been involved with doing Qigong for about 12 years. And if you have never heard of what Qigong is, it's similar to Tai Chi. So if you've seen people doing Tai Chi, it's very similar to Qigong, except Qigong is more related to the cultivation of energy. And so Qi means energy, and Gong means the cultivation of energy. So we say that the blood and the Qi are married, and that oxygen is our life force. So my immune boosting smart fact for the day is that we all got to breathe more. And it may sound crazy, but during this COVID-19 and quarantine, we've all had a lot of emotions, right? So some of us have been fearful, anxious. Some of us have had positive feelings like, great, I can wear my sweatpants all week, or I don't have to go to a meeting. And then there's those emotions over all the weeks have also changed too, right? So after 5 days in your sweatpants, you may be great, but after 45 days in your sweatpants, you may be going crazy. So our emotions over these last few weeks have really changed. And what we don't really think about a lot is that our emotions affect our breathing. And if we typically will breathe very shallow. So my goal for you today is to help you think about breathing more deeply. And when we're stressed, we tend not to breathe as deeply. So thinking about you might even catch yourself when you're stressed, not even breathing, right? Do you ever catch yourself that you're actually holding your breath? And the breath is the key to our longevity. So hold that thought, and we're going to go back to Susan, but don't hold your breath, okay? So back to Susan.
Back to me. Right now I have, all right, so back to me. We're going to have our shallot. Okay, so shallot is in the onion family. And I already chopped off the root. You can see that there. And I'm just going to, thank you for those breathing exercises. I think we take that for granted, right? We get stressed, we just go about our lives, and it sounds silly, but we forget to breathe. This is a super large shallot. I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half. And then I'm going to mute all, and then I'll unmute Janet, or maybe Janet can. So I'm just going to peel off the outer skins. How's quarantine cooking been for everyone? Have you been able? I have to say that I've been really lucky in the sense that I have a lot of chef friends, and they've hooked me up with some super nice ingredients. So you're going to do a shallot just like you do an onion, in the sense that you're going to slice it this way. I'm sure you've seen this on Food Network 100 times if you watch Food Network. If you don't, welcome to your onion chopping lesson. So I just did it horizontally, and then vertically, and then now I'm just chopping it. And this is such an easy way to dice your shallot. All right. This was a really large shallot, so we don't need that much of it. You would think that being smaller would have less flavor than an onion, but it actually has more flavor than the onion. Definitely more pungent. So I'm going to put this in my bowl. Okay. Okay.
And Susan, while you're doing that, they're asking, there's someone else there. Can you mute the other person coming in there? And we have someone asking about where you're cooking from.
Oh, okay, great.
Set up there.
Okay, so you know how to unmute yourself, right, Janet? Because I'm just going to hit mute all.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so where am I cooking from? I'm in Southern California. Yeah, so I am in Orange County, California, which is about an hour south of Los Angeles. And we have people joining us today from all around the world and the country. We have people joining us from Canada, um, North Carolina. My sister's in Florida. We have other people joining us in Florida, Georgia. Don't know about Alabama, Texas for sure. So this is definitely the coast to coast cooking class. So I am in Southern California. These are our shallots, okay? So now I'm going to toss in our tomatoes. These are some big, huge cherry tomatoes. I'm going to toss those in. In my recipe, I wrote a couple of extra tomatoes in there, and you'll see why at the end. I'm trying to stay on track, so hopefully I won't go too long in our show here. But I do want you to enjoy, relax, use this hour to just, sit back, enjoy, take notes. All right, so I put some grapeseed oil, just tossing the shallot and the tomatoes with the grapeseed oil. Now I'm going to take out my stems that are roasting. I have my Swiss chard. So these were the leaves, right? Okay. I sent it to Janet. I want to show you this. So these were the leaves from the Swiss chard, right? Tuscan kale, again, very similar. So what you want to do is you want to treat these like you would fresh basil. And I have some fresh basil I'm going to show you in a few minutes. But you're just going to roll it up like this. And you're going to want to do what we call a chiffonade. Okay, so you roll it up. And then some of our foodies probably all know the chiffonade process. But if you don't, but what it does is it creates little ribbons. And that's what chiffonade means. And then I'm just going to turn it like this, keeping it in order. And then I'm just going to take it and slice it right down through the middle. So now I have really super easily chopped Swiss chard, or like I said, you can use Tuscan kale would be the best substitute. And we have all of these leaves because I had done 2 other of those before you joined me. Yeah, I know. I've been in the kitchen all morning. I don't know what you guys have been doing. Maybe yoga, right? Going out for breakfast. Not. Anyway, yeah. So, and then I'm just going to toss this with the grapeseed oil. The reason why I use grapeseed oil is that as opposed to like an olive oil, as you know, is super popular. Most people have it, most people use it, but I use grapeseed oil because it has a higher tolerance for temperature, okay? So it doesn't change the health properties as you would with an olive oil. Olive oil tends to be more sensitive. If I was an olive tree, I would be very sensitive too, right? So, use grapeseed oil. It's available at most any market, or coconut oil. The reason why I chose the grapeseed oil is because grapeseed oil has a very mild to pretty much even flavor. It's not one way, it's a neutral flavor. Coconut oil is very flavorful. It has a strong flavor. You're definitely going to taste that in your end product. But coconut oil and grapeseed oil are my go-to oils for cooking. All right, I'm going to get the roasted stems out of the oven. I'm going to put this on the pan. I'll show it to you before I put it back in. But Janet, back to you for a quick breathing tip. Quick.
We don't want you to burn, we don't want you to burn anything now. So we were talking about breathing. Yeah, we were talking about breathing. So I want everybody to try this breath work. And if you want to cover up your camera, you can, if you don't want anybody to see you breathing. But simply, it's like a baby breath. So when you watch a baby breathe, right, the abdomen goes up. So I want you to take a really long and a deep breath. And I want your belly to go out. So instead of focusing on your chest, I want you to focus on your abdomen. So a really deep breath. Slow, as deep as you can go. Now, when you exhale, you're going to take your abdomen and sweep it back toward your spine. So you're exhaling slowly and exhaling all the air that you can. So this is a Qigong breath. It's a very slow, deep inhale with a slow, full exhale. So you keep doing that, and I'll just tell you a couple of the benefits. So number one, while you're doing this, you're actually massaging your internal organs. So very different from a chest shallow breath, massaging the organs. Secondly, you're removing toxins from your body. Thirdly, you're enhancing your whole body circulation. So a lot of times we don't get our blood circulating well to our extremities, hands, toes. So a full deep breath gets your circulation and your blood moving. It helps you with your digestion. It helps you with elimination. It helps you with having a healthy appetite, helps you with your metabolism, weight loss. It promotes endurance as well. And last of all, back to our point of the day, it bolsters your immunity by reducing the cortisol in your system. So I really encourage all of you to take advantage of deep breathing, especially outdoors if you can get outdoors, or sleep with your windows open. And I know I'm feeling really blessed right now during this quarantine because I live in what we call a green neighborhood. And so many of us are blessed to be in a green neighborhood. So take advantage of really taking those deep breaths and recognizing that. So speaking of a healthy appetite, back to you, Sue.
Thanks, sis. I love that. We all need to remember to breathe. I forget to breathe all the time, and it really does make a difference. Okay, so I have our Swiss chard. Hopefully you can get a good angle of that, because if I tilt it anymore, everything's just going to fall off, right? So, tomatoes, shallot, tossed it with the grapeseed oil. It's going to go back in the oven. The Swiss chard stems are already on there roasted. It's going to go back in the oven for 10 minutes. Actually, I preheated the oven to 375 degrees. This is where coming to know your oven makes the difference. So every oven, every grill, everything has a temperament, even the eyes on your stove, right? So I don't care if it's brand new or an older unit, no two units cook the same. So my oven actually cooks a little bit low. So I cranked up the heat to 400 because I want it like really roasted. But that's where you can practice with your own at-home appliances, okay? So that's going to go in the oven. All right, so I wouldn't have to bore you with cracking 13 eggs. I already cracked most of them. I'm just going to crack one. So now, while that's roasting for the next 10 minutes, and like I said, don't worry, I already have one done for you at the end. So I'm going to crack an egg. I am the worst at cracking eggs, okay? If you're going to get eggshell in something, it's me. I worked with a chef in Italy, Marco Colenso. You can actually follow him on Instagram. I think it's chef or just at Marco Colenso. He can crack, like literally, he could crack a dozen eggs one-handed, boom, in the time that I could crack one egg. He's so talented. And he's the executive chef for the Four Seasons in London right now. And he's not on today, but I learned so much from the chefs there in Italy. This is an incredible experience. Um, so now I'm just gonna whisk these eggs up. That's a lot of eggs, but that is also a big baking sheet. And so when you're doing this, you might be thinking, well, when am I going to need to make this many eggs, this many? Well, we're kind of coming out of quarantine. I think we're going to do some socializing. Sunday brunch, Saturday afternoon party, or you just feel like cooking. I actually got into cooking myself, not just because my mom and all of that, but because I worked in this really stressful corporate job, and I would go home. For me to relax every evening, I would cook. So, encourage you to do the same. Cooking is a great outlet for stress while we're breathing. While we're breathing. Okay, I'm just going to put some pepper in here. My mom just cringed because I touched my hair. But hey, I'm cooking. I'm cooking at home. I'm okay. I can touch my hair. All right, so I'm gonna put some milk in. I have some milk. This is buttermilk. If you want some funny anecdotes about buttermilk, go to my Southern buttermilk biscuit recipe video. I talk about my dad loving buttermilk. I'm not gonna put all that milk in there, just like 3/4 of a cup. There's some milk. The milk gives it a little bit of creaminess. If you don't do dairy, I actually really don't do dairy anymore. Um, but you can use a kefir, which is excellent. Kefir is so good for you, especially when you mix it in, with the eggs. It'll cook just fine. You don't have to stress over that. And then I'm going to put in our goat cheese. The reason why I selected goat cheese is because for people who are lactose intolerant or have an intolerance to dairy, goat cheese is more palatable for your digestive system. I really don't eat a lot of cheese anymore, so if you don't want cheese, feel free to leave this out. But if you do want the cheese, I highly recommend goat cheese.
Recording is on.
Great. I heard that. Thank you. Okay. So I'm just going to check my recipe to make sure I have everything in here. So I've got milk, goat cheese, eggs, pepper. Yep. All right. Now it's time to bring our veggies out of the oven. I'm going to show you though that I really have to get creative here and be very careful because in my home cooking studio, that pan coming out of the oven is going to be super hot. So I'm going to move my burners here. We're going to do this more often, which I do because I love it. Put that there. I'm going to put my trivets here. Look, just want to show you how much. Do you like my trivets? Aren't they pretty? Got a rooster, some grapes. So pretty. So pretty. Okay, and then I have my cooking glove. This was a gift to me from friends years ago. So I was notorious for burning my arms. And here we go. Okay. So to me, I love these. These are roasted perfectly. However, what I would do, and you can put this in your notes, I would put them under the broiler for about 1 minute so they get a little bit more of that. You don't want them charred like completely, but just that charred look, and it really brings out the flavor. But for our show today, I'm going to leave them like that because that's the way the recipe is written. Now, I'm going to take a few of the tomatoes out, and I'll show you why a little bit later. Okay? And so I'm going to take a few of the tomatoes out. I'd probably take a few more out, but I guess I have another cup. I'll take a few more out. These are cherry tomatoes. You can use grape tomatoes. You could actually even use Roma tomatoes if that's what you have. You know, quarantine cooking. Use what you got, what you have access to, or even non-quarantine cooking. You know, if you have the Roma tomatoes, you know, you don't want to do those whole, but you can quarter them, take out the seeds, and use those as well. Okay, I got that. I reserved some tomatoes. I got my eggs. Woo! Okay, here's so you're just gonna pour your egg mixture. Do you see why I wanted the baking sheet with, you know, the larger lid? The goat cheese is kind of at the bottom, so I'm just going to spread that out using my spatula there. So honestly, like if you don't do dairy as far as like milk and stuff, like if you're okay with eggs but you don't want the other dairy, you don't have to add in the milk. It just helps add like a little bit of creaminess and volume. But we have the goat cheese that will also do that. So if you don't want to use milk, you don't have to. But buttermilk, nah. Whenever I say buttermilk, I have to say it with my southern accent. Because that's how we roll. All right. Bikini cooking. This is going to go in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. And I'll be right back. Janet, do you have another breathing tip?
Well, I hope everybody's still breathing. But so I actually had just kind of a sort of reminders as we hopefully are getting toward the end of this quarantine, but just ways to focus on staying healthy. And you've probably read some of these while we've been on quarantine, right? We've had the opportunity to figure out all kinds of ways to be healthier, but one would be sleep, you know, so our sleep balance and sleeping, trying to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep a night, and then actually the time of day that you sleep. So having your body see the sunrise and see the sunset. So typically sleeping from like 11 p.m. to 7 is a good time to try to get your sleep in to build your immunity as well. And then exercise is a second way that we can build our immunity. So we don't really think about this, but actually really heavy exercise creates lactic acid in our body, and that actually can enhance our when we get a cold or the flu. So doing things like yoga or qigong or tai chi and doing them outside, it really invigorates your lungs and it improves your immune system, because we talked about that cortisol. So it reduces the cortisol while heavy exercise increases that. So the right kinds of exercise during this kind of a time can boost your immune system. And I'll save the two for last when Susan's ready.
Well, I was just going to check the chat channel and see if there are any questions. No. Okay.
You've been answering them all along. So thank you.
Good. All right, great. So our frittata is in the oven, and I was so thankful for my trivet, and that was probably a little loud, sorry. All right, so what I want to show you now is what's going to go on top of our frittata when it comes out of the oven. And that's going to be fresh herbs. Yay! Yes, I get so excited about fresh herbs. And again, this is kind of part of the water secret. Anything that's dark and leafy and green, and even our vegetables, I wanted to share with you other ingredients you could put in this recipe that I haven't written, but you know, you could put some freshly diced bell pepper. I prefer red, yellow, or orange bell pepper, not the green. Those are unripe and they can actually interfere with your digestion. They can cause you to burp and, other things. Organic corn. So if you're going to have corn, make sure it is organic. That's super important because corn is one of the most GMO foods, GMO, genetically modified. But if you have a nice organic corn, chop it off the kernel, throw it in there. So delicious, yummy, and beautiful. Remember, my mom said a colorful plate is a healthy plate. My man loves jalapeno peppers. Loves them. Like, I think his digestive system would cave in if he didn't have his jalapeno peppers. So put some freshly diced jalapeno pepper in there if you like spice. You could also put in a sprinkle of cayenne pepper if you don't have jalapeno, but you have cayenne. Cayenne and jalapeno instantly increase your metabolism. We all need a little extra fat burn right now. We're sitting around in quarantine, but a lot of states are coming out of quarantine, and I think that's fine. I just want to say that if you and your state are coming out of quarantine, still be aware of safe practices, masks, gloves. I don't care if you feel like you look silly. So many people, including my daughter and her mom, well, my stepdaughter, her real mom, they've made these beautiful decorative masks. They're so pretty. I'm sure you've seen them everywhere. But so wear those. You can be fashionably safe. Then we have fresh avocado. This is like, I'm not going to cut it and all that because, they do turn brown right away, but put some fresh avocado on there if you want. Super, super great options. Also, food healing wise, black sesame seeds. I should have been eating this. This whole bag should be gone by now because black sesame seeds help retain the root pigment in your hair. I can't believe, I needed root cover up because I should have just eaten the whole bag. Flaxseed, you can put a pinch of flaxseed, pinch of black sesame seeds in the recipe. Your family will never know the difference. And flaxseed is great for omega-3s, fiber, super, super healthy. Okay, back to herbs. So I have sage from my hanging garden that my sister, I won that in our family Christmas gathering. But you can use oregano. Any kind of herb is going to be immune boosting, okay? Trust me on that. And then, I can't wait till they come up with a smell cam so that you can smell all the good stuff in the kitchen. My only concern is for those who haven't taken a shower. So basil. All right, so you're going to take the leaves off the basil. We're going to do it like we did the Swiss chard earlier. Let me just show you. Okay, I know I've got cilantro here too. I'm an herb fanatic. And so I'm just going to take my basil leaves and stack them up, much like the Swiss chard was. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know if it needs to be more camera forward or camera backward, but hopefully you can see it. So I'm going to take my leaves, I'm going to roll them up like a cigar. I personally don't smoke cigars, but my grandfather did, and he was a pretty amazing man. So you're just going to, this is in his honor. This is a basil cigar, Uncle Bill. Yeah. All right, and then you just do it the same way we did the Swiss chard earlier, and there's our basil. Okay, boom, in it goes. Cilantro. This is a tiny little bunch just for demonstration. But what you do is you just take your chef knife and you cut off the leaves like that, leaving the stems. It's okay if you get a little bit of stem in there, but you don't want all that stem. And then you're just going to chop it up. Boom, 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 boom. And just going to mix it in right there with the fresh basil. and the cilantro, and this is sage. I love sage. Love sage. Does anyone know? Can anyone tell me the most popular time of year for sage? When is sage most frequently used? I know my foodies out there know the answer. Anyone in the chat channel? This is purple sage. Beautiful. Okay, I didn't hear back, so I guess. You know what? Before I put my frittata in the oven there, I forgot to sprinkle it with Parmesan. And that's okay, because you know what? We can sprinkle it when it comes out of the oven because it's coming out of a 375, 400 degree oven. It's going to melt. The whole point is that it melts. I do want to show you, though, this handy little gadget. We had a lot of fun at Christmas with my family. So we all got these little things. It's like a grater. Janet can tell you where we got it because you just take it and it's like all spiky in the middle. You're just going to take your cheese, grate it on there. Ooh, yummy. I already did a whole bunch more earlier. Then we're just going to take our brush. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just serve our eggs. Since I have a finished one already, I'm going to put my towel there, put my rooster and my grapes back, and I'm going to go get our frittata because I want you to see this. Okay? Be right back. Janet, if you have a short breathing tip, great. If not, I'll be right back.
Okay, we'll keep breathing. So the other two things, we talked about sleep, we talked about exercise. The third one is spirit balance. So practicing forgiveness, practicing positivity, trying not to focus on anger or fear. So that's number 3. Back to Susan. That looks awesome.
You know, anger and fear, I think a lot of us have been feeling that, especially if we've been bottled up with family and, you know, for weeks on end. And if you have young kids, particular, you know, hats off to you. Anger is something we all deal with no matter quarantine or not, right? So there's some Parmesan cheese, but yeah, breathing. I love yoga, and I've been doing some online yoga. But I have to say, I need to learn how to breathe more. Yeah, I got to find myself to breathe. All right, so this is Parmesan. You can use Parmigiano Reggiano. It looks like a lot. It's really not that much. It was less than a quarter cup. Maybe like.
So Susan, what was the time of year for sage? You left us hanging.
What was my what?
We had a guess for fall and the time of year for sage.
Oh, okay. You ready? Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is sage's most popular time of year because it's used in cornbread dressing or any kind of dressing. If you go to the supermarket during November before Thanksgiving and they give you those herb bouquets, always going to have sage in it. And I'll post a recipe for you that I learned in Italy. Sorry to keep talking about Italy so much, but I learned a lot there. And we have some, dare I say it, fried sage leaves. Yeah. All right, so this was awesome, actually. You could even do this if you didn't put the Parmesan on before. So it's partially cooked, so it was in there for about 10 minutes. I took it out, put the Parmesan on, so you could see I'm going to put it back in for another 10 to 15 minutes. But in the meantime, you don't have to wait because I have a finished product to show you. Be right back. Okay. All right, so thank you so much for being here. I'm going to show you my finished product. I'm just going to leave that right there. So this one was a little bit thinner because I did it in, one of those, and you can do this too at home. So if you're single, or just one or two of you at home, hold on, hold that thought. This this is one of those toaster oven pans. So you can do it in a toaster oven pan. So you can see where I have the parchment paper here lined. If you want to use a nonstick cooking spray, you can, but I don't use them. I don't like them. I feel like they have chemicals in them. I know they do. One of the brands that I was looking at the other day, it actually has propellant in it. Like, isn't that what you use for bug spray? So, yeah, I don't use cooking sprays. But so this is just how it came out, just in the toaster oven. So you can minimize the number of eggs. This was 6 eggs. I might use 6, maybe 7. So half the amount of eggs, and you can do it in your toaster oven. And remember those tomatoes that I had you reserve on the side? It's because then you can put some roasted tomatoes directly on the top if you want to. These, remember when I said about broiling them a little bit? They just get a little more tender and a little bit more color, beautiful. And then your fresh herbs come in now. The reason why you don't put fresh herbs on when you're putting them in the oven is because it's just going to cook them to pieces. Yeah, it's just going to suck all the flavor out. So you put fresh herbs on at the end. Dried herbs you use for cooking, like in stews, soups, any kind of roasting like that. But this, you put the fresh herbs on at the end, and that's it. So I'm going to take my fork here. Oh, if you have a seasoned sea salt, that's where you want to come in. This is one I have from Alabama. Our friends at Springhouse Restaurant make the wonderful herb salt seasoning. And I'm going to do one of the more roasted tomatoes. I'm so sorry that you are not here to try this with me. I mean that sincerely. It's really good. I'm not just saying that. It's so good. Uh, so what you can do, if you do make the big sheet pan full, but you're like a single family where you're not going to eat it all at one time, you can actually cut this into squares any size that you want, put it into freezer bags, and freeze it. Quarantine cooking. That's how we roll. Thank you guys so much for being here. I do want to thank Janet and Guaranteed Rate for sponsoring our cooking class today. I have the non-bikini chef cookbook, which is Cooking with Susan's Southern Family Favorites. I have the post-quarantine bikini chef diet plan because we're all going to need to lose a few pounds. You can find everything at thebikinishef.com. Just message me, susanirby.com, if you need real estate in Southern California. I'd love to help you with that as well. Any parting questions or thoughts?
Sounds like everybody had a great time, and thank you, Susan. Everybody have a great day and stay healthy.
Stay healthy, stay home, stay safe, stay home, and cook.